All right, what's going on, guys? I recently learned how to do solo Kalphite King, so I figured I'd make a video and show you guys how I do it. Now, this is probably not going to be optimal, but it's super consistent. So, why Kalphite King? The main upside of doing solo Kalphite King is one, the drops suck, so finding other people to do it with is kind of hard. And two, if you're doing it for log completion, other people don't get to snipe your drops. So because this boss is generally not one that people like doing, you probably just want to do it solo anyways so that you can get in and out in the least number of kills. All right, so let's talk about the gear and inventory setup. First, the gear. We're going to be wearing first Necromancer gear with Cinderbanes. This is generally because Kalphite King is not very fun to kill. So you want to spend as little time here as possible. You can certainly do this without first Necromancer gear, but you really run the risk of staying in the fight longer, making more mistakes. Kalphite King does a lot of damage, so the longer you stay here, it's like exponentially more difficult. So I would just say it's not worth running out of solo if you don't have first Necromancer gear. It is doable, but I would imagine that your kills are more than twice as slow. We have a Tzkal cape. A lot of you guys should have this by now. If you don't, I have guides on my channel for it, so feel free to look those up. I'll link them in the description. For our ring, we're using a Ring of Death with a luck ring switch. I mainly bring Ring of Death because I'm not like 100% comfortable here. I don't really die here anymore, but everyone makes mistakes, right? So just bring it for safety. Once you're comfortable here, you can bring a crit ring or something, or you can just wear your luck ring. That's totally fine too. Now we're using Scripture of Wen and Cinderbanes because of the poison synergy, and our aura of choice is going to be Vampirism, also for the poison synergy. When you combine all of these together with Blood Reaver, it creates a scenario where every time you're a book procs, you're getting 15 chances to proc poison, which can then re-proc itself. As you'd imagine, that's very, very good. Beyond that, this is one of the few bosses where you're rarely at full health, so you actually get to take pretty good advantage of the vampirism damage and healing, which is very nice. If you don't have vampirism, you can use Majorat. I would imagine that most of you have vampirism though. It is extremely powerful here. I don't have any kills of me on Majorat, but the vampirism kills are like 10 seconds faster, literally. Finally, we have an Essence of Finality with a Death Guard in it. You actually don't have to use this. You do just need to make sure that you build your residual soul so you have access to a stun, but it is good. If you have access to it, there's just no reason not to use it. It is not necessary. This is probably the only flex saw that you have. You can just use an Amulet of Souls if you want to. For inventory setup, you actually don't need a whole lot of stuff. I bring some food. I bring my overload salves. You can use worse overloads if you want to, but Kalphite King has really high defense. Having lower overloads means you're losing out on accuracy and you're losing out on damage, which means you're doing substantially less damage. Having your highest tier overloads will get you by far faster kills. We're using the highest tier poison we have available to us. We're bringing Excalibur because I use Excalibur at the beginning of the fight. We're bringing a Blood Reaver, not using any scrolls, but you can if you're not super comfortable here. And we're bringing 2 Vuln Bombs for every kill. If you want to just bring your whole stack with you, that's totally fine. Now, before getting into what the boss does and how we're going to deal with all his mechanics, the first thing we're going to talk about is pre-building. Now, what pre-building is generating your residual souls and necrosis stacks before the fight actually starts and then carrying those into the fight. The reason that we do this at Kalphite King, there are other bosses that we do it at as well, but the reason we do it at Kalphite King is it allows us to burst him down before he gets to do too many of his mechanics. So Kalphite King is infamous for having an execute. Generally, once you're really comfortable here, pre-building will let you just skip the execute altogether. You still do your precautions to deal with it, but being able to either skip the execute or only ever deal with one phase at a time, or skip digs, which are very time consuming, is super, super nice. So that's why we use a pre-build here. Now, in terms of how we do a pre-build, you can do it however you want, but the fastest way that I've seen is while you're walking to these training dummies, because this is where you usually do the pre-build, you can either start with Touch of Death, Soul Sap, and then Threads of Fate, or while you're walking up, you can Threads of Fate so that by the time you get here, you Touch of Death. Either way, you want to threads, touch of death, soul sap, basic, and then you just do basics, soul sap, do 2 basics, soul sap, touch of death, and that's your pre-build. If you do it the other way, where you touch of death first, soul sap, and then threads, that is 1 global cooldown slower. So that's the difference between the two. Now, because we have a target, we can't actually summon any of our guys. So what you need to do is wait for these to start counting down. Now we're considered out of combat. Now, if we want to summon a conjurer, we can. If we don't wait for that timer to start ticking down, then it will try to summon on these dummies, even though we're at Kalphite King. And because the dummies are in another map, it just won't let us summon because we're not in range of them. Now, Kalphite King has 3 phases. Magic phase is the easiest phase. You basically don't need to know the specifics of magic phase at all. Essentially, Kalphite King just shoots magic orbs that target the ground. So if you move out of the magic orbs, you don't take any damage. That's basically it. With that being said, the rotation is actually pretty simple. He's going to do 4 to 5 attacks before he digs. After he digs, he's going to do 2 attacks, and then he's going to charge, rinse and repeat. Super simple. As long as you don't use any stuns, that won't really change. Now, you can use stuns to skip the dig, but if you use too many, or if you use them at the wrong times, he can dig multiple times, and then the kill is just not fun. So personally, I just recommend not really stunning it during magic phase. So we did our pre-build. Now we're just waiting to drop combat here because, again, you can't summon your familiars until you drop combat. As soon as we go in, we summon our guys, life transfer, activate ghost, activate deathmark, and then anticipate. We wait for the spawn animation to start, and then we split soul, activate skeleton and skulls. Now, this is mage phase, so there aren't any real mechanics that we need to worry about here. We're just using all of our damage. You will notice we have 68% accuracy, so that's kind of the deal. So Kalphite King just did his dig, so because all of his minions are there, I use that opportunity to gather souls, so we Threads of Fate and 5-stack volley. Now we just go back to hitting the boss again. So there you saw he started healing. It was because there was a green aura around him. There's no animation for that heal. You just need to wait until he can take damage again. And yeah, we're just hitting the boss. He switched to melee phase, but he was almost dead, so it doesn't matter. And that is a mage phase kill. Melee, in my opinion, is a little bit easier to deal with than the range phase, largely because there's a little bit of inconsistency with the range phase and requires some on-the-fly reactions. Melee phase is really simple because he's going to do some attacks and then he's going to charge. After he charges in 2 attacks, he will always green you. Something to keep in mind is that minion spawns replace the next attack in the sequence. So if minions end up spawning after the charge, then there's only 1 attack. What I like to do is after charge, he does 1 attack, then we freedom. Freedom is mandatory because it lets us move after we're stunned. Basically, once you use freedom, you're going to be stunned for 8 seconds. Once that timer drops to 3, you're going to do a max distance dive. This builds exactly enough space that you get to put on protect melee and devotion right before he hits you, which nullifies the attack completely. You can resonance, but you need to be extremely careful about using resonance because the minions that he summons can snipe your resonance, then you just die. That's why I wear a Ring of Death. Ring of Death is really nice here because if you make any mistakes, you can just teleport out. Okay, so we're going to show 2 kills, one where we do the green skip and then one where he just dies before we have to. But again, we're doing the same pre-phase as normal. As soon as we see the spike pop out of the ground, we're going to split soul. So as soon as the fight starts, we skulls, bloat, 5-stack volley. Again, same thing as magic phase. We start every phase the same way. It's just, you know, what we actually do after that. So here he does his charge. We're going to move out of the way. So he's going to do one attack. We're going to freedom. He's going to do another attack here. And then he's going to do the green. So we're waiting until we're at 3 seconds. And we're going to do a max distance dive. I'm spamming devotion. As soon as I see the devotion, I press protect melee once. And that is your green skip. And now we just hit him like normal. He'll die eventually. Alright, so this is the kill where we just kill him before we actually get greened. The animation does still show in this kill in particular, but it's after he dies. So, same thing. We wait for his spike to show up out of the ground, and then we'll split soul, activate skeleton, and use death skulls. We use bloat, 5-stack volley, and then Omni Guard. Then we do an Omni Guard rotation here. So here he puts Slaughter on us. This works the same way that our ability Slaughter works, where if you move, you take significantly more damage, so that's why I put on Protect Melee. Now here, I'm going to try to burst him. And you can see that I am still going to get the big stun, but he just dies before. Now, range phase has a bit more variance to it, which can make it a little bit harder to deal with. Basically, in range phase, he's going to use 3 abilities and then 2 auto attacks. The first ability shares the same animation as an auto attack, which is a little needle that shoots at you. So basically, he's going to do a bunch of stuff. After the 3rd needle, he's going to use Beetlejuice. Now, luckily, in range phase, you can actually stun him out of Beetlejuice. So you need to stun him the attack before. And then it guaranteed just cancels the attack. It goes to the next attack in his rotation. However, if minions spawn when he would do an auto attack, he's only going to do 2 of the needle attacks before doing Beetlejuice. So typically what I like to do is when I see the second attack, I'll freedom. That way I can do the same skip that you do with melee phase if I mess up. And if you freedom the second attack and he does a 3rd attack, then you just get to stun him and move on like always. Alright, so just like with melee, we're going to be showing 2 kills. The first kill is going to be us getting the green stun skip. And the second one is going to be us dealing with the stun the same way we deal with the melee stun. So the kill starts the same way. We're doing the same exact rotation in the beginning. So there's the first auto attack. There's a second auto attack. We're going to freedom the second auto. There's a 3rd one. We're going to immediately stun. And we skipped the green. So now we just get to hit him like normal. He will die before he gets to green again. And that's that kill. In this kill, I actually miscounted the auto attacks. So that's why we deal with it the same way we do with melee. This is why I always freedom the second auto attack. Starting the kill the same way. Skulls, 5-stack volley, Omni Guard, nothing super crazy here. Yeah, so that was the second auto, and he summoned minions, and I wasn't prepared for it. But we deal with it the same way we deal with the melee phase. We dive away at 3 seconds. We devotion, protect melee as soon as our devotion activates. He does a dig here, but he's just going to get back up. We auto attack him once, he dies. All right, so that is going to be it for this guide. Thanks guys for watching. If you like the video, feel free to give it a like. If you want to support the channel, feel free to subscribe. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. I tried to do a little bit more editing in this one just to make it a little bit more clear what you guys are supposed to be looking at and make the sections a little bit more clear and refined. Let me know how you like the editing, if you want to see more, if you like the old style of basically no editing. But yeah, thanks so much for watching.